But it says on the top that it's live on YouTube.
Maybe it's now. Wait, where are we now? That would be funny. Okay, so I guess we started one now. Welcome to the very first Artist Talk of the year. I'm very happy to be here with Lena Kuzmich tonight, who will talk about our exhibition Embrace Me, which is currently at Improper Walls. Lena Kuzmich is a video and photography-based multimedia artist from Vienna and is located in Netherlands with the study photography at the Royal Academy of Art. My name is Ale Zapata and I'm part of the curatorial team at Improper Walls. And for those who are not based in Vienna or have never heard about us, Improper Walls, it's a cultural platform and alternative art space that supports artists in realizing their vision. We try to bring art to new eyes and also to create awareness around matters that intrigue us. I would like to start by very shortly introducing the exhibition, and afterwards we will have the opportunity to talk with Lena and get a bigger or a deeper glimpse into the whole exhibition. But well, so Embrace Me is a series of images that explore gender non-conformity and queerness. It shows imaginative landscapes and hybrid representations of bodies through which stories of queer, non-binary, trans, and other gender non-conforming individuals are told. The exhibition functions as a portal to a world in which gender is not a set of rules in a power dynamic, but a free form of expression, and where the gender binary expands beyond its logic and where gender gets questioned, repurposed, dismantled, reclaimed, and abolished. The show is open from Wednesday to Friday, 3 to 7 p.m. until the 5th of March. And you can also actually visit the virtual show still, which is in Mozilla Hubs. We prepare the user's guide in our homepage. You can like search it. You can also get the link through our social media, which is Instagram, or you can also check it through our homepage. Please go there. It's super funny. Don't be afraid of it. Just try it. Okay, so Lena, very happy to be here with you tonight. Welcome. And I would like you to introduce yourself and your practice.
Thank you. Also, hello to everyone who is live with us right now or watching the recording afterwards. Yeah, I'm super happy that I'm getting the chance to talk to you, Ale, and also especially nowadays where everything is kind of difficult, like communication, etc., to still have the possibility to talk to you online. That's really great. So thanks. And yeah, I mean, you already mentioned quite a lot of aspects of my practice. So I was born in 1998 and I grew up in Vienna and moved for my studies to the Netherlands, where I study photography. And throughout the last, I would say, 3 years, I've mainly become interested into making exhibitions and really thinking of concepts and ways to immerse the viewer in my work in some way. And I do that by mainly working with video and photography. And my projects often deal with the body, the human body, and also aspects that relate to it, such as like the categorizations of gender and sex, and how, in a way, we as humans get born in a society, in a world that has like very clear rules for how our life will be, and in my work I really try to investigate that and also break free from that. Yeah.
Very interesting. I also just want to say very short for people who are watching us through YouTube, you will have the chance to write us questions. We cannot like answer them like directly, but we have someone, which is our technician, working behind, and they will send us the questions, and then we will talk about it. Okay, so Lena, can you tell us about what got you started as an artist? What got you to where you are at this point?
Yeah. So I went to a high school that was already focused on photography. It was for 5 years in Vienna, and there I mainly learned like the applied aspects of the medium. But towards the end, I got very politically involved. I did a lot of social work concerning pornography and prostitution. I went, for instance, to Romania for a month to live with women that were trafficked into prostitution in a shelter, and I worked with them on a project. So, in a way, like the education that was first very technical then became something very political, and that's also where the artistic aspect started in a way, because I really felt the need to express my own internal struggles, but also kind of like through the work I make, reflect on what is happening outside or around me. And I think like if I look back at my practice, and I would say I guess like I worked as a photographer before, and I think that I really consider myself as more like an artist, or more like working with more mediums, is now since 3 years, I guess. And before I was really more focused on producing photographs. And when I look back at that time, also like 3 years ago when everything started, all the projects I made were very much still within the boundaries society gives me. So it was really about finding out, what does it mean to be born with the body I have? What does it mean to have a female body? What does it mean to be a woman in this society? And I think throughout the years, it has mainly shifted in a way to something where I don't define myself anymore through the boundaries and limitations, but really try to open up and like expand ideas that exist right now, and open up to my imagination and to my vision of how society could be, and really create these worlds and spaces in my work. Yeah.
You actually answered my next question, because I wanted to ask you what brought you to photography and video, but you basically wrapped it up. Maybe you can tell from your memory, what was the first time you actually came to experiment with that medium?
You mean photography and video?
Exactly, in video. Yeah.
Yeah. I think in a way I've always been interested in doing something creative. Like my mom also, when I was a child, always did like some craft stuff with me. And at some point I was drawing a lot, and I was also photographing, and she just really supported me in the way that, yeah, she told me about the school in Vienna. So I guess it even though my family is not necessarily in the art world or like the cultural sector, I'm really grateful that in a way she saw that in me, and she supported me in a way. Yeah. So yeah, I guess like it was like a longer process, especially because like basically since or my early teenage years I have been invested into like making images, and creating things. Yeah.
I think your mom would be very proud to listen to you right now. I mean, talking about upbringing, so you grew up in a conservative country, Austria. How did it impact your journey towards embracing your gender identity and your notions of sexuality?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question, because in a way I do think Austria is conservative in many ways, but I also think like the westernized capitalism, like this ideology, very much also pushes boundaries. So even though like maybe the mindset of Austrian people is quite conservative, I think like this idea of liberalism and like this very capitalistic ideology also allows people like me to exist freely in some way. And I think like that's a really interesting combination, because on one hand I'm super privileged with having the possibility to well live out the person I am. Like I grew up in like very middle class family that always supported me financially, even though they didn't have the access to what I do necessarily. And I think like, so in a way, what is the most striking aspect in that for me is that I think the what I struggle with the most is maybe not so much the conservative or like the conservative mindset, but more that everything is very normative, like very much. How do I say this? Like people are open to things. It's not completely religious, even though that definitely is also still in the mindset. But there is like this very. I do not see necessarily in Austria that people really try to break away from the established in a way. Like
Yeah.
they do not try to break norms, or it's not even about you having to break norms, but more about really questioning like the system we live in, and how we organize and structure our life in a way. And I think that's the main issue I personally struggle with, especially now in my early 20s, where I realize I'm an adult, but I still have to like reflect a lot on my upbringing as well. So that's very, very much a theme that, well, is stuck with me at the moment. Yeah.
Very, very true. I think you said it very well. Basically, Austria is a very traditional country. Maybe conservative is not the right word. True. Okay, so I mean, talking about it, like for people who have never heard, for traditional and conservative people who have never heard about the concept of gender non-conformity, how can you explain it to them?
Yeah. I think in a way it's quite tough to explain, because it's something that is not really definable very easily. I think it's an umbrella term such as queerness is, and it basically, well, that's my idea of it. Of course, some people might disagree, but for me, it kind of offers people that are not like conforming to the idea of, okay, man, women in the society, or feminine, masculine, etc., like that just do not agree with that. And also when we are born, depending on our genitals, we get assigned a certain construct of sex, which is either female or male in like most cases. Of course, there are also intersex people, and I think like gender nonconformity just describes the people who do not agree with this definition they get when they are born. So that can be people who are assigned male and then decide to express themselves very feminine. That can be people who are like, okay, fuck the gender binary, I'm non-binary. So I think like it's a very broad term, but I think also what it what it is, and that's also very similar to queerness, is in a way that I think it's like this collective strengthening and appreciation for individualism. So that's like we all have our own stories, we all have our own expression, and just really want to be who we want to be, or who we feel we are. And it's about like coming together, also supporting each other. So I think like it's these two things as well, like the collective experience, but also the pushing of the individual and like the free expression. Yeah.
Thank you for that. I would like to ask you to tell us a bit about your past works. I think, I mean, here you have open mic and you can show us everything you want. So
Yeah, sure. I will just share my screen with you and just go briefly through some of my recent projects. Let me see. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, so for the people who haven't seen the exhibition or online or haven't followed it or whatever, I just wanted to maybe go briefly through some of the images so you can get an idea, and also you see them in the back. Yeah, so basically like one of my most recent works, or also that's like one of my more recent approaches, is to really build worlds. And I mainly do that by photographing images myself and then combining it with images I find online, a lot of stock footage. So that's what I do a lot at the moment. And it's really about really, yeah, creating these worlds, atmospheres, and everything is very, like, how do I explain this? It's kind of like a very careful assembly of elements I collect over time. So it's my own experience, but also things I find like pieced together. So that's kind of more recent work. So also what you can see in the expo. And then another project I did, I will show a small part, is a,
Just very short, can I interrupt you?
yeah.
Sorry. Would you like actually to tell the audience, I mean, what was the process, or like, I think this we haven't like shouted out so loud. I think it's very interesting also to know what's the material, or how does the print work, because it's very special.
Yeah, for the exhibition at the gallery space, I produced large format lenticular prints, and it's basically this like printing technique that most of us probably know from childhood, or when you go like in a €1 shop or something similar. It's like this kind of trashy pop cultural object. And I used it because to me it offers the possibility to immerse the viewer in a way. Like it has this interactive element that I find really interesting. And at the same time, also I think like conceptually it's interesting for me, because in my work I really investigate both subculture and pop culture and elements of it, and combine it to create new meanings in a way, and to kind of like glitch the meaning that we know towards something else. So also like taking something that we know that is part of the collective memory is like a very well important aspect of my work, and that's also why I really appreciated this printing technique. And yeah, it's the first time I work with it, and I'm definitely gonna expand on it in the future, because yeah, I think it has like a lot of potential, and I think it's also something that I greatly appreciate if in a way the items that may not be considered art or so, to bring these in a different context. And yeah. Okay, but I will maybe go quickly back to where I was. Okay, yeah. So then another project I did is a music video for a musician from Austria, Tony Renaissance, and their music deals a lot with queerness and like building also these landscapes that allow fluidity in a way of one's identity. And we worked quite a long time actually on the video. It was a very slow process, and I think in the end we were both quite happy with the outcome, because we really wanted to create this synthetic experience for the viewer that also fits very very well to Tony's music. um, and here you can maybe see some other stills, and I think like that's also kind of describing very much how I work. I think for me it's super important to merge the physical space or the body we have with the virtual realm. And also to create new textures. I think it's super interesting with all the editing programs. You're really able to create new textures and materials that are not known in the physical world, and I really like to play with that. um, then another project I want to show is something quite recent. It's also really personal. It's a project I did with my boyfriend right now. And because for me, the last year was very intense in a way. We were all pushed back in our own space, and it gave us a lot of time to also reflect on ourselves. And I've always had problems with what is considered a woman in society. And in the beginning, as I was very much trying to redefine it and be like, okay, I just wanna have my own definition of what it means. But then I think about a year ago, I just realized, okay, like I am not a woman. I do not identify as a woman. I'm also not a man. I do not identify as a man. It's all just constructs that we can play with, like masculinity and femininity. And I'm just Lena, and I just want to be myself, and I just want to do what feels true and right to me. And yeah, of course, it's in a way also interesting if you are with someone that experiences this transformation of yourself. And yeah, in the work, it was very playful. We just were at home. I constructed scenes. I dressed him. I dressed me, and it's just about this. How also relationships always have power dynamics. And I think if you think of this, well, he's a hetero man, but then suddenly he's with someone that doesn't identify as a woman anymore, so it also does something to him and to his sexuality. So yeah, it was just this playground of kind of trying to be appreciative and respectful towards the other person, and trying to allow the other person to be honest, in a way, and have a lot of empathy, and to investigate these power structures in our relationship. But also try to understand, okay, what does it mean to express yourself feminine? What does it mean to express yourself masculine? So yeah, it's all in the project in a way, in a very playful manner. And then one more project I wanted to show that also kind of exposes how I like to deal with the exhibition space is that I always try to really immerse the viewer. So you have seen the worlds I create now, the imagery, but for the exhibition, it's always important to expand the world into the space. And for instance, for the gallery show, I also created this floor sticker, so to have this small element that immerses you a bit more. And here it's a video work I made last year, and it's called Inside the House of Neverlasting Love. And it's basically a very wild, vivid dream almost, that explores in 4 chapters how the main character tries to find love. And with the work, I really wanted to investigate how in our society women or femme identifying people um, often have to follow a set of rules to get appreciation, or in a way, at least that's what I experienced when being raised as a girl, and then in my teenage years, that that in a way I do have to sexualize myself in some way to get validated, or at least that's a way of how you receive validation in society, to look pretty, to look beautiful, to sexualize yourself. And yeah, in a way that work discusses this, and how to liberate yourself from that, and also how to understand that. Because of course criticizing society is one thing, but also you have to look inside yourself and understand how these things got picked up by your own personality, and got internalized in a way. And yeah, here are just some stills. And for the wallpaper, this was shown at the Noorderlicht Festival in the Netherlands in summer. I kind of assembled a collage out of all the stills of the video. Yeah, and yeah, that's it with the works I wanted to show you quickly to kind of get an insight of my work in case you haven't been familiar with it. And I think...
Thank you very much. I mean, talking about Tony Renaissance, we just had the first improper session of the year, and that was the 27th of January. And you can, so if you haven't seen the session live, it's also on YouTube, and you can check it out in our channel. Thank you for sharing us your work. And there is an aspect of your work that really, really fascinates me, and that's the constant manifestation of the imaginary. What's your process of creation? I mean, you talked already a lot, but do you combine existing or imagined personal memories or artistic or literary references? What's your process like? I mean, how these ideas develop?
I usually start with myself in a way as a basis. So I think even if I work with other people and collaborate a lot, it's always coming from an internal urge in a way to work with something. So that's really the first starting point of my work. And then at the moment, at least, of course, my process also changes. But I think what it always has inherent is this remix of several things. So I already talked about that I'm very influenced by like mainstream culture, pop culture, but also subcultural things and how to bring them together. And for instance, for the work that is shown at the gallery, I mainly I think of an idea, an aspect that I want to communicate. And I do a lot of online research, like on online shops and Google search, just like get everything together, kind of. And also stock footage. I think stock footage is really great because, in a way, like it's the most normative that exists. It's almost like not normative anymore because it's so normative, but it's really it's it's such an empty canvas. You can do everything with it. And so for instance, the work Embrace Me, I photographed the characters, and well, the characterization is made through a combination of reading, own experiences, visual references I found online. So that's how I built the characters. Then I photographed them in front of the green screen, and then I cut them out and placed them in the world I create. And the worlds are entirely built out of stock footage. So it's really only things I find online, on Shutterstock, for instance, or also on Google if it has like good enough quality. And I cut everything out and assemble everything together. So yeah, that's for instance the process of this work. And also for other works, if I work with film, for instance, it's all very much a combination of referencing visual imagery or collective imagery, and combining it with own reflections and my own experience.
I just wanted to read a comment from Joe.
Okay.
Joe says, "You never stop reflecting on your upbringing, I found." I'm not sure if it's a question.
Okay.
Maybe it's just a comment. Do you want to say something?
Yeah, I mean, in case this is a question, Joe, please feel free to formulate it differently so I can directly answer it. But I think, I mean, I'm now 21. I I guess I just have to trust Joe if it's a comment. And I also think if I reflect on talks with people that are in their 50s or older, I think I guess it is always true because it is you get placed in this world, in a specific family, in a specific country, with a specific body, etc. And of course that influences you and your character. So I totally agree in a way. Yeah.
I mean, it also influences like your questioning because it's at the point you are.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so we were talking about you create these worlds, and you also we talked about the materiality of the textures that you like to introduce to your works. So what's the particular interest from the creation of these seductive and as well synthetic worlds and textures?
Yeah, I think it mainly comes from seeing a lot of images every day around me in advertising, on social media, Instagram, etc. And I think images, especially in a very capitalistic society, are made to seduce you, to kind of sell you also a desire of um, what you should want in a way. So I think like that's one aspect. And I think there are certain textures that are just attracting for people, like glossiness or so. It's something that we are drawn to in a way. And then also with like some, as I mentioned earlier before as well, with some textures, especially when working with editing programs, it's just great because you can really, how do I say this, create things that do not exist in the same way in the physical space. And I think that has so much potential, I think. And generally the virtual or digital realm is something that I really greatly appreciate, because it does not only offer space for putting your own imagination there or living it out, but also to like expand the ideas and norms that exist in society. It really offers to, or offers us a tool to greatly break down ideas of how life should function in a way, both in how society is organized, but also if you look into the future. I mean, it's just a matter of time, I think, until the body really starts to merge with technology even more, or the digital realm. So yeah, I think it's really interesting for me to explore this, and to also look into the future, and maybe also imagine how will the world around us look like. Maybe we will all have liquid bubbles around us or so. Yeah, that's just a great inspiration for me. Yeah.
Cool. I have a kind of like a hard question. So, how do you navigate the importance of representation, especially for trans and gender non-conforming individuals, while knowing that visibility doesn't necessarily equal safety? And I mean, yeah, so which role does social media play for you in that relation?
I think it's a really good question to ask. And it also shows how, for instance, with queer experiences, not every experience is the same, because I know that some people are way more vulnerable in this world than others. For instance, Black trans women, they are like extremely vulnerable, and one of the most vulnerable group of people in this world. So I think there are different aspects as well to that. And for my own practice, when I collaborate with other people who are queer or gender non-conforming, it's just really important for me that there is trust, and that there is space if the other person doesn't feel comfortable with something to share that with me. So that's a really big part. And I think it's also this battle, especially when it comes to social media, of okay, how much can I be myself, but I still also have to survive. So how much can I live out the person I am, but at the same time also need to go out in the streets, and I need to risk to maybe get harassed, etc. And of course, I mean, I grew up in Austria, I'm now in the Netherlands. And even though these countries are very open, or more open, let's say, uh, harassment happens here as well, but then there are other countries where people literally get murdered for it. So I think in a way it's really, it's very broad. There's like, really depends on the context, but I think what is always part of it is this, it's just this battle of how much can I be myself, how much can I become the person I want to be and live out the person I am, and how much do I have to camouflage my own identity in a way, in order to survive. And social media especially, I think, has the great power to connect people. And even if you, for instance, live in an environment where you're perhaps afraid to be the person who you are, or who you want to be, the internet enables you to connect with other people and gives a way, or a platform, which allows you to express yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's also very difficult to decide always, like within social media, what's public and what remains private.
Yeah,
I think
totally.
it's very individual choice.
Yeah, and
Uh,
I just want to add something to that. I think also now, because there are new regulations on social media who are censoring certain bodies, and I think that's like also an aspect of technology that I really hate. That the people who are already marginalized in our society, such as people of color, Black people, queer people, get even more marginalized through technology as well. So on one hand, it really offers great possibilities, but on the other hand,
yeah,
it also limits us, because sharing our bodies online on social media is a way of representing ourselves, and also breaking ideas of society and norms. And I think there so much has to be done there still, and companies such as Facebook, Instagram, etc., really have to come up with a solution, because when if they continue with what they're doing now, it really harms people. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely agree with you. Uh, Phew. So, what are the most meaningful actions that cisgender people can take to support the LGBTQIA plus community? So, be it personally, be it professionally, be it artistically.
I think personally, I think the most important aspect is to be empathetic. Empathy is really the number one rule, I guess, because it allows you to understand other people, and it's also the greatest basis for communication. So if you just listen to the other person and respect the other person, even though they might not be what you envision of how a person should be, it allows you to well, treat each other in a great way, and also allows you to open up to things that are not familiar. So yeah, empathy is really in all the aspects, artistically as well as personally, professionally, etc. I think that's really the main thing I just want people to have, because often I experience it that even if people say, yeah, I'm not homophobe, I'm not racist, etc., also myself, it's kind of like a, how do I say this, like kind of something that we assume from ourselves, but of course we do not have the experience of the other person, so we cannot say such things. And the only way how we can bridge this, like this gap between individuals, is to be respectful and empathetic, and just listen to the other person, and also be open to um well, deconstruct and investigate what seems normal to us. Like, for instance, when we talk about the constructs of sex and gender, that is just normal for us, that we assume people with vaginas are women and people with penises are men. Such a thing, for instance, like it's very established, of course, but there are people who do not agree with that, and that's like already should be reason enough to sit down, reflect, and be open to change and progression.
Beautiful, beautiful said. So I think we're kind of reaching the end, and I just wanted to ask you if you want to basically invite the people to come to the exhibition you have right now at Improper Walls. Maybe you want to tell a bit more, because the introduction was very short, so maybe you want to tell a bit more what's behind those images.
Yeah, I also just, besides, I want to invite people. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask it now, because there is a bit of a delay between the talk I have with Ale and the YouTube live stream. So please feel free now to ask all your questions. And yeah, so for the show, all the people who are in Vienna or in Austria who have the chance to see it should really come by, even if you have seen it online already, because I really try to create this experience in the space with the sticker on the floor and the interactiveness of the lenticular prints. And I personally am very positively surprised by how well the technique turned out. And I think it's like it's an experience in itself to see it also in such a big scale. So yeah, I would really love for everyone who wants to and has well, is in Vienna, Austria, to come by and to check it out. And for all the people who, well, want to see it online, there is still the link in my bio and also in the bio of Improper Walls on Instagram. And of course, you can also find it on their website. And also, if you're interested in following my work, please feel free to follow me on Instagram. I think that's the most recent platform where I share things like the artist talk, etc. And of course, I also have a website, but that's not so up to date. Or let's say, like, of course, I'm trying to keep it up to date, but Instagram is just very immediate. So yeah, please feel free to follow me or reach out to me also after the talk. You can just reach out to me if you have questions or you want to see certain things, or yeah, just feel free to approach me. Yeah.
Awesome. Last question,
Yeah.
last but not least. What are you working on right now? I'm also very curious.
Yeah. So right now I'm graduating in July in the Netherlands at my university, and I'm quite busy with preparing my graduation project, which will again be a reflection on how, as a queer identifying individual, that also looks beyond the gender binary. It feels to grow up in the society, but also in a family that well, is very connected to the normative structure of life, I would say. So it's really a reflection on how personally it's difficult, but also on how within visual imagery you can see these like constructions of identity, because both like the businessman and also the, well, queer, crazy, expressive individuals use elements of through which they construct their identity. So it's very much also about investigating this more broad or general aspects through visual imagery, collective imagery again. Yeah, I think like, yeah, the personal and then this. And for me, what became really important is to think of a way how to connect generations as well, how to explain my experience to my parents or to my grandparents, or to other people's parents, grandparents, etc. So it's really because I think especially because my generation has grown up with the internet so strongly, it's different. I don't know how, not even that we have maybe more insight into technology, etc., but also the mindset is just different. How, if you think about 12-year-old people, for instance, sharing a lot of on TikTok, etc., that's already different to my experience. So that there is really a gap that needs to be bridged in a way. And then next to that, there is also these ideas on abolishing the gender binary, and I think that's something extremely abstract for people, while for myself it's not so abstract because it's just how I feel, and then I look into theory, etc., that explains that. So I'm really busy with how to communicate these matters and these theories in an emotionally approachable way. Yeah, so that's what I'm working on right now. And yeah, it will be finished in July, I hope, if everything goes well, for my graduation festival. Yeah.
That's cool. Will you publish your work, or can we be can are we able to see what's the end result?
Yeah, I mean, the graduation festival is normally always physical, and we hope that this will be possible as well. So if you're in the Netherlands, then you can see it physically. But of
Oh,
course, I will also share it online, and I think now it's planned to work on an online version as well. At least from our photography class, we will see how that progresses. But I'm sure it will be accessible online, and of course afterwards I will also try to publish the work through certain platforms. So yeah, again, like if you want to know more about my work or follow the upcoming projects, I think Instagram is the most accessible platform, or also my website, or Facebook. Yeah.
cool. We're very looking forward to see
Yeah.
to see what you will do. Um, yeah, I don't know. I would like to give this chance to the audience. If you have any questions, maybe just let us know. Meanwhile, I can say uh, the exhibition is still ongoing. You can come. It's until the 5th of March. 5th of March, yes, 5th of March. And you can come to the gallery from Wednesday to Friday from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. And apparently there are no questions. Should we wait a bit?
Um, yeah, we can wait for a moment. So, people, if you have questions, now is the chance.
Now.
Uh,
This is the last chance.
exactly. Okay, but I think,
Maybe it's clear enough.
yeah. Or in case something comes up, please reach out to me. I'm very willing to talk more to people if they have questions.
Would you like to say your Instagram account? And so where can we find you, Lena?
Yeah, it's on Instagram, it's just Lena Kutzmich, and then all small letters together, written together. And then on the end, there's like a little, I don't know how it's called in English, but like a little line.
Um, is it a
That,
dash?
exactly. But it's not the floating one, it's the laying one on the ground.
Like the down
Yeah.
one?
So yeah, that's where you can follow me. Yeah.
And your homepage?
It's lenakuzmich.world.
Or you just Google Lena?
Or just Google it. I'm sure you can find it. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, if you also want to know something else about improper roles and the cool things that we're doing, which are a lot, just go to our homepage, Google us, also improperroles.com, or in Instagram, the at improperroles. We're pretty easy to find. Okay, thank you for your time, for answering the questions for the
Thank you
artist
so
talk.
much. How-
Okay, there is a question. last question. People reacted, and someone would be interested to know how people involved like. Do you get the question? Sorry, I would be interested in how the people involved like the final word. I'm sorry, I'm having some difficulties. So I guess your the characters you took photos.
Oh yeah, okay, okay, that makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, I think, I mean, some people didn't react to it. Some people are just like, oh cool, good. And some people really like the imagery. So yeah, it really depends. But I try, of course, like if you're in a moment of stress, that's also not 100% possible. But I really try also in the process to just from time to time share like a little screenshot or so. So if people don't feel comfortable with something, they can let me know. Yeah. But so far I didn't have any complaints. So that's good.
But good comments. So did you get some good comments?
Yeah, I did definitely. I think especially a lot of people themselves are photographers or artists. So there is just this communal appreciation as well, or that you just support each other a lot and follow each other's work. And yeah, I really appreciate that as well. So even if nobody in the world likes your work, you know that you have some people that are behind you and support you. I think that's really great.
Supporting you. Community is very important. That's very true.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you. I think that was it for today.
thank
Thank you, Lena, again, and thank you for the people who participated and sent some questions. And have a good night, everyone.
Yeah, thank you so much. Also to Ale, thanks so much for preparing the questions, and it was really great. And also generally, thank you and to the whole team of Improper Walls for supporting me and also giving me a stage, because especially as an upcoming artist, photographer, etc., it's quite tough. So yeah, I'm really appreciating that I got the chance to show my work. Yeah, thanks.
We're very happy that you're here.
Thank you. Okay. Then
Okay.